Hi everyone. I want to go over a case along COVID and how the pieces of the protocol work together to help people recover. This is a 38-year-old female, got COVID in January of 21. Her overall respiratory symptoms, fever, cough, are fairly mild, and but she ended up within the following month, 2 months, had this increase in real persistent headaches, really bad brain fog, intense anxiety that seemed to be worse when she was upright for very long or if she got hot. Her hair was falling out, she couldn't sleep, and she couldn't barely care for her 2 children. So that's around January, February, all that's going on. And then she finally comes to our attention in October 21. So at this point, we put her on. Again, my basic protocol is about controlling inflammation. What we're finding in long COVID patients, and there's all sorts of research supporting this, is that you look at these patients and irrespective of the kind of symptoms they're having, they have very high levels of inflammatory cytokines in their bloodstream. That means their immune system is just revved up and turned on. And so we started her on our fish oil and olive oil, and we put her on monthly cycles of rifaximin. The brand name was called Xifaxan in America, and we do twice a day for 10 days. We do that once a month. And she was getting about 5 minutes of VNS a day. And she starts feeling quite a bit better, actually. And so we see her then, and after about 2 to 3 months of being on this monthly cycles, even though she was getting better, she kind of plateaued. She wasn't kind of completely recovering. And she noted that, so she would take it for 10 days, the Xifaxan. She could notice she would feel better when she was on it. And those 20 days when she was off before the next monthly cycle, she could kind of feel kind of crappy, like she needed it again. If you ever notice that, you're already relapsing. That's what that means. And you cannot get the inflammation down all the time. So that's when you have to shift over to continuous rifaximin. So that's what we did. And she did really, really well. And I'm looking here. And she noted several times if the VNS, she didn't like doing it, or I think it was just with the kids and everything, she would forget to do it. And she would notice after a couple days, if she didn't do it, her anxiety would start spiking up and her joints were starting to hurt. So with the vagus nerve stimulator, the vagus nerve is like one of your major mechanisms for the body to control inflammation. And there's evidence that COVID can directly damage the vagus nerve. Okay, so it doesn't really work well at times in COVID patients. Now, fortunately, the nervous system is proving to be very resilient and it can recover. And my experience is that if you get people the inflammation controlled long enough, that they won't even need the vagus nerve stimulator in many cases. After it recovers on its own, it can do its own functioning. So anyhow, she's doing pretty well. At this point, she's back down to her monthly cycles of Xifaxan. She's doing better. Fish oil, olive oil, vagus stimulator. Gets COVID again. Okay. This is in January of 2023. So the first bout was January 2021. January is not a good month for this girl, this woman. All of her symptoms come back, but much worse. So this time, we put her right back on continuous fish oil, olive oil, vagus stimulation, and she's starting to improve again, but not like the first time. She's not fully recovering. Now so we're coming around, we see her about 6 months later. It's in June of 23, and right around this time is when some papers in that spring had come out showing that this second form of leaky gut that COVID can cause. And I've got another YouTube about that. Basically, the high inflammation associated with COVID creates a glutamine deficient state, and you have cells that line the intestinal tract die off, and now you have a big gap from a molecular standpoint. Instead of just getting increased permeability or increased leaky gut, they call it hyperpermeability. Okay, and This is a phenomenon that occurs in HIV disease, which, as many people know, I'm actually an HIV specialist. And we did work on some glutamine research on this back in the 90s. So we supplement her with glutamine, in addition to continuous rifaximin fish oil olive oil vagostimulator. Awesome recovery. I mean, it was the missing piece, and she thought she felt something within the first month, but she said during that second, third month, it was not only did she feel better, like in a recovery, she said she physically felt better and stronger. And it's because your body will, when you have a chronic inflammatory state, your body will devour muscle to get glutamine to fuel the immune system. And so, and this is a big part of wasting syndrome. These men with HIV that were skeletally thin, they were devouring their muscle to fuel the immune system. So she has a really impressive recovery after that. And then here around winter 2023, we were able to stop the glutamine. That's the first thing you do, because once the inflammation's down, you can make enough glutamine now to support your own gut health. She did well for 2 to 3 months. Our last visit, she's backed off on the Xifaxan, the monthly, and I think by summer we'll just have her on fish oil and olive oil, maybe VNS. We'll just see how she does, and just intermittent 10-day courses of Xifaxan if any of her symptoms recur with a relapse of SIBO. So, very nice case. All the pieces work well. You know, my experience here with long COVID is, you know, all the long COVID patients that I'm seeing have bacterial overgrowth, and that responds with rifaximin very nicely. And about half of them also need glutamine. I think they have this secondary leaky gut problem. So, but it's a nice, simple way to approach this problem. I think can help a lot of you out there if you're struggling with this. So, have a great day. Take care. Bye.